things, right? So what is marketer doing? Marketer is providing you or offering you a, value using which you can actually satisfy your needs. So this is what marketer is doing. Now the point is that this offering either can be called as product or it can be called as service, right? So earlier the word which has come into existence was offering, but not marketing or but not product or service, right? So this is something that we have to remember and we have to recall. And thereafter the words have come product, and thereafter the words have come like services. If you would look at your basic books, they are written around your products only. So that is why marketing management is written around physical products, and that is why perhaps we need a separate subject which is your services. And why we need a separate subject on this, throughout the course we will try to understand that and how it distinguishes itself from the erstwhile course of marketing management, right? uh, why the books are mostly emphasizing on the physical products is because we have already seen industrial revolution. Industrial revolution was mainly about the production part. Even if you would look at the evolution of marketing, if you can recall the four concepts or the four orientations that we have done, so they were starting from production concept. So production concept was the first. So which means we were actually inclined a lot towards the physical production, right? So we were not primarily talking about the production of services, we were talking about production of products, physical products. And then came the sales concept, then came the marketing concept, and then came the societal marketing. So this evolution has also been from the perspective of physical product. And that is why whenever we talk of marketing, we invariably be talking about physical products but not services. But later on, when the industrial revolution is passed, and specifically in the countries when they have opened up their economies, thereafter the services has also started taking their shape, and their contribution in the GDP of the countries are increasing. And as a result of it, it was important and necessary that we should actually also take into account how the management of services and marketing of services is different from the physical products, and hence the subject, right? So we are coming from offering anything which is offered to solve the need or to cater to the need or in as a response to the need or as a reason or as a result to the need. This is divided into product and services. And what is the difference? You have talked about the difference, but let us try to go into more deeper part of it. So before, first thing first, if you would look around, in fact we are surrounded by services, right? And we are so routinely embedded into services that we do not realize that we are consuming a service. Even now we are talking of a service. Education industry is a service industry. So services are everywhere. We cannot escape ourselves from services. Let us take one example where we are today. If we can talk of university, I mean, you imagine the types and the amount and the number of services which are available in only this one place. You talk of education services which is happening now. Library is also providing you a service. Student accommodation is a service. Healthcare which is available in university is a service. Athletics, which is sporting facilities provided to you, is a service. Security, counseling, career. You also may find bookstore, post offices, photocopying, internet access, bank, food joint, XYZ, ABC, blah blah, what not. These all comes under services. So services are everywhere, right? So why were they left behind if they are so important, if they are everywhere? And this is something that we have already touched upon. But as we will progress, we will try to address this question more prominently, right? Look at the importance of services, and look at the importance of this subject and why this subject. If you will talk of, the data might have changed, that a lot of and a volume of portion of the global GDP, we are not talking of a country in specific, we are talking of global GDP, is coming from services today, right? So which means services are playing a larger than life role. There were times when people would only talk of physical products, but now it has changed. So the majority of the income of the globe is coming from the services sector, and this is to be believed. So manufacturing is getting down, right? So we can say ultimately that the services sector account for the maximum amount of contribution into the GDP of the globe, and thereby it is important to understand the services also. Manufacturing is somewhere around 30%. It is important. We have been reading it since ages, but we have not touched upon services for that matter. And it might appear that it is going to be a overlapping between what we call as services and what we call as products in terms of its practicing. But we would realize and legitimately accept that actually there is a lot of difference between the practices or the marketing practices of these two terms, which is product and services. To go ahead, if you would look at the further data, you would realize that there are some places and some countries wherein the services are contributing almost everything to those countries, and this is kind of a graph which actually tells you that to what extent the services are contributing to which countries. And if you would look at that, the contribution of services has actually gone up, right? In our country also we have surpassed in terms of services when we compare it with manufacturing, which is production. If you would look at places like Cayman Islands, 95%, 95% is, I think, almost entire GDP is coming from services, right? So this is your importance. This is something which is depicting the importance of services. You can look at Luxembourg also, which is a beautiful country. 86% almost is coming from services. I mean, how we cannot escape this, and we cannot just leave it behind. So even if you will consider the agriculture or the manufacturing combined, then it is less than 15%. In case of Cayman Islands, it is less than 5%. So the contribution of services is too huge, and hence we perhaps need to understand. And this is how we stand as far as the other countries are concerned. And we, when it crosses the 50%, then even the law says more than 50% is majority. So we are sitting at more than 50% well, and hence our economy is also today service-based economy or service-oriented economy. And if it is service-oriented economy, then we have to understand it and we have to give its due, right? And that is why we are perhaps studying this. If you would look at globally, we are talking of the global perspective. If you look at globally, then what are the principal industries where the service sector is operating? The three parts in which all the services which are contributing to the maximum extent can be divided into these three categories. So they will either be renting, they will either be professional and banking services, or they will be financial insurance. Now this rent as a word which is written here is actually having a vast meaning than the meaning that you would be deriving out of it now. So we are not talking dictionary meaning of renting. So renting has a comprehensive meaning when we talk it in context of services, and that is something that we will do. Even the authors of this book, the Lovelock and Ritz, they themselves actually have given so much of emphasis on the word rent in context of services, and he says that it is all about renting. If I am teaching you, so university has taken my services on rent. This is how they understand it. If you are going through a bus, then you have taken that bus on rent for some time. So which means the renting is something which is a larger part of your services arena. So this is how people and your literature looks at it. So now let's go back to the history, etymologically where from it is coming, and how in terms of practicing it is coming from. The vague traces of it actually speaks about more than 200 years, that people were speaking of something type of services more than 2 centuries before. And it was in late 18th and 19th century early that the economists have started talking about creation of wealth. And wealth, you all know, you have already done managerial economics. Adam Smith, you might have heard about this gentleman who has contributed a lot in understanding the economics, and he is also considered as father of modern economics. So he wrote a book in 1776, Wealth of Nations, right? And in this book, he has posed a very important question, and he was actually looking at where from the economy is running, and he have looked at the various people who are contributing to the economy of the country. And he found out that there are two type of people who are contributing to the economic development. So one are the people who are productive, and who he is calling as the productive people are the ones who are actually in the process of producing the goods, which is the manufacturing part of it, which is the physical good. So these are those people. But then there are other people also who are doing n number of tasks, but they are nowhere reported and they do not have a space to find in the economic development, right? And he has termed them as unproductive labor. So they actually were not unproductive labor. They were the people who were actually not working onto the physical assets of the country. They were not engaged in the physical, uh, physically available products, and hence the wealth creation. If you would look at that part of economics, the wealth creation, the wealth is not considered. If you are a unproductive labor, then your contribution is not considered as wealth. This is how you have to look at it. And he was actually posing a question that what about these people? When that happened, then the French economist Jean Baptiste, he has actually talked about the work that they are doing, this unproductive labor. It should also be considered, and if you do not call it as a product, then better you give it a name, and the name that was given to it was immaterial products. So this is also a product, right? But yes, it is something which is not physical in nature, and hence you can say that he has not something, but actually he has done something. And if you have to give a name to it, it should be called as immaterial, Anji, products.
Unproductive labor में आप उससे production वाले labor को consider करता है.
No. Productive labor are the people who are engaged in the physical production, the manufacturing. Unproductive labor are the people who actually are those people who are not doing this task but yet are contributing to the development of economy in this way or that way. If I am to take you back, let me put it in perspective in this way. If you would go to literature, even this book also speaks of that the services as a word has actually emerged from servants, right? The people, because earlier there used to be this king system, the individual who is ruling the country or ruling a region. So the people who would work under them, providing and making their life easy, they were servants. I mean, you call today them as your servants. Are not they doing anything? This is the question. Are they not contributing anything to the country, or are they absolutely just like this? So the question was that they might not be producing something physical, they might not be doing something which is actually visible to you, but actually they are also engaged in doing something. And hence we just cannot take a shed and hide our faces by just saying that these are unproductive labor, which is they are not producing anything. They are also doing something. The people who would give entertainment to the kings, the musicians, the famous musicians, are not they doing anything? They are doing something, right? And hence let not call them as unproductive labor. They are contributing in indirect way maybe, right? And hence whatever they do, let us also give it a name, and if not products, then let's give it a name as immaterial products. So this is what the Jean has suggested after The Wealth of Nations as a book has come into the world, right? So this is how the people have started talking about this thing.
How would they consider those as the productive and all productive and all these are immaterial?
See, anything that can be seen, that can be touched, anything which is produced physically, that was actually called as productive thing. Anything which is not seen, I mean, just you people now told me that the services is something which is intangible. So intangible, it is not that after writing of this book, people have started doing these intangible tasks. They were doing since ages. But the point is that their contribution was not considered in the wealth. This is not considered as wealth. So when you say what is considered in immaterial products or unproductive labor, so it is all those tasks which actually were not related to the physical manufacturing or physical production of the goods.
I am asking
Hmm.
here, Jean Baptiste has considered those foods as immaterial products.
Hmm.
How can he consider them as immaterial products?
Point is that what are you considering product as? What are you considering product as? What is product for you?
Manufacturing process and all.
हाँ?
Manufacturing process and all.
मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस जिसके अंदर इन्वॉल्व है, और पहले होता ही ये था, वो प्रोडक्ट्स ही बनते थे जो मैन्युफैक्चर होकर बाहर आते थे. His question is that why he is calling it as immaterial products. Now let me confuse you a little more. You are confused, but let me confuse you a little more. In times to come, we will call the services as service product, right? And then the question will come that why services are called as service products. They are not products, so why they are considered product? One more thing, a little tip onto your confusion. 4 P's are still there in services marketing mix. So here the product is not replaced by service. Product is still there, right? So 7 P's of marketing. What are these 7 P's? Product, price, place, promotion, process, physical evidence, people. So product is still there. Then the argument comes in, then why the product? We are talking of services. Actually, you have to look at the value proposition which a product is offering, and offering is given a name as product, right? Now this product you do not look at only as a physical thing. The product became popular as a term, right? And we have started associating a physical production with product, but actually product by essence is something which is being offered to you in response to your needs, right? Because it became popular, so that is why the services are also catering to some need of yours. So but if you are not considering the services as materialistic, which can be touched, which can be felt, which is mundane, at least let us call them as immaterial product. Now this is not the final name which is given to it, right? After that the services has come into picture. So it is the evolution we are trying to understand, right? It is in between what has happened. So later on it was actually kind of replaced with the term services, right? So this is how we look at it. And even when you say that services is something which is intangible, services is something which is produced and consumed simultaneously, in other terms you are saying that the services cannot be stored, we will also pose questions to this. So can really you not store services? Can services actually not be stored? These are important questions. Perhaps we don't know, but we may store services, right? So that is how the confusion we will try to get rid of it. So let us come to these questions. Can production and consumption be separated in services? Can production and consumption? So you yourself, some of you have said that one of the characteristic of services is that it is consumed and produced at the same time. So I am speaking something, and you're consuming it right at the time when I am producing it, right? So can production consumption be separated? This is the question. Yes or no? So either it has to be yes or it has to be no. Huh? Nota is not an option. Can production and consumption be separated in services? No. He's saying no. Neeraj, yes. No. Okay. Anyone who says yes, they can be separated? Jitin, how? फिर बाद में भी सुन सकते हैं. Yes, right? So production, then this is example of something else, and we will touch upon to that question. But huh? No. Now let us look at this thing. Dry cleaning. What is dry cleaning? Laundry. Or let us take this press thing. What is this? This is a service. This is a service that you do. So today you have given it to someone, and after 5 days you might wear that cloth which was ironed by someone. So you are consuming that service after some time. I mean, see, what we are looking at is we are trying to demystify the confusion around product and service, and the path to demystifying the product and services goes through the confusion which is between the product and services, right? So at first place you might find out to be little confusing, that how is it so, and why on earth have then people been talking about that services cannot be stored separately, and why on earth people have been talking about that the services cannot be produced and consumed simultaneously, and here people are saying that yes, it can be done. Actually it is about having and building up that opinion and that idea that actually product and services are separate, and they ask separate treatment when it comes down to marketing practices. And when we are to do that, then we have to draw a very clear line between what should then be a product and what should then be a service. And then the ages old in the erstwhile understanding of services should then be challenged. And cannot we pose this question that yes, the production and consumption may be separated in services? So dry cleaning, it is done someday, it is consumed someday. So the example that you were giving, Jitin, now that actually relates to some other question. But here actually production, which means the ironing, was done specific day and it was consumed later on, right? So I mean, we just will try to make an argument and we will try to pose questions to the earlier established facts, and then we will try to convince ourselves that yes, there is this difference. Now before doing that, let us try to understand that why do you call aviation industry as service industry? Is aviation service industry? We consider aviation industry a service industry. So we say that the SpiceJet is providing a services. Is no tangibility involved with SpiceJet? There is no tangibility involved. Are not these questions, something which is tickling our nerve and which is actually making us to ask some serious questions? And when we start asking these questions, then we are actually going towards demystifying the confusion around product and services. So let us approach these questions one by one. Are all services perishable? This is another characteristic of service that we very laymanly and very plainly look at. Are all services perishable? And you have to speak. Either it is perishable according to you or it is not perishable according to you. What is perishable? That cannot be stored for long. That cannot be stored for that matter. Can services not be stored? With time they decay. Okay, but they can be stored. That is what you are saying. Okay. Any example? Hmm. 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 So it's a good example. So 100 rupees you have, I mean today, got into your mobile and you are consuming it over the period of time, right? Now let us look at another thing. When Jitin was speaking of video recording, this is something which comes under it. You are storing the service. What I am speaking, I am storing it up, right? And then I am making it available to you, say through YouTube or say through website, whatever. So it can be stored, yes.
एग्जाम्पल जैसे
Hmm.
पानी पूरी वाले में बोल रहे हैं
Hmm.
तो वो तो फिजिकल प्रोडक्ट भी दे रहा है
Hmm.
इन टाइम में आपको खाना भी बनाना पड़ेगा
Hmm.
तो सही क्या प्रोडक्ट प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड सर्विसेज
नहीं, this is a product. Golgappa is a product. See, that is what we are doing, and that is why I asked you question that how this aviation industry, how aviation industry is a service, and we will touch upon this. We will take this example of Golgappa also when we will come on to this differentiation between product and services, and maybe then we will try to deconfuse ourselves to some extent, right? आप क्या कह रहे हैं? What are you saying, Ankit?
सर रेस्टोरेंट में अगर गोलगप्पा वाला प्रोडक्ट
हाँ.
बेस हो सकता है तो फिर रेस्टोरेंट इंडस्ट्री सेम है
रेस्टोरेंट इंडस्ट्री भी सेम है. रेस्टोरेंट में भी गोलगप्पे मिल सकते हैं,
प्रोडक्ट बेस है
right? Product base है, मिल सकता है. And let us demystify it, right? And this is why I said, and I am very particular when I say this, that understanding the difference between product and a service will tend to confuse us. So that is why I said to Shrinu that let me confuse you more, and we will be confusing, and unless we are not confused, we are not landing anywhere, right? Because the moment we are confused, we will be in trouble and we will have questions, and when we will have questions, then we will look for answers, and in search of that answers, maybe we will see that line which differentiates product and service, right? So let us try to do that, and hence we will try to attempt some more questions relating to services which has been there since ages, and which we have been believing blindly, and which we have not looked at that they can be challenged. And this is the problem with our uh, books that have been there previously, and this is how we have been looking at products as this and services as this. But let us try to challenge this. Can services be used to create durable value for recipients? Can services be used to create? There are some smart people who would have looked at my answer and then I have taken it back, and there are some people who might be feeling hazy after that grand treatment during your lunch time of cake. They would not have seen it. So what is your answer to this line? Can services be used to create durable value for recipients? Yes. Have you seen my answer? Yes. Okay, how?
like this. We are studying
Hmm.
It's giving some more value.
It is giving some more value. Okay.
Studying
Okay. Okay. Durability means which lasts long. This is what the durability means. Aviation industry. How do you fit that thing in this line?
सर सर्विस को ड्यूरेबल कर सकते हैं
Services.
लाइक किसी को सर्व
One by one. One by one. I think we.
services also.
Huh?
Restaurant.
Restaurant services. How restaurant services can be used to create durable value for recipients?
Sir, if you eat in general
Hmm.
general hotel,
Hmm.
you will not feel that much. If you eat in Taj Hotel, you will feel that much.
Hmm. So that is momentary. The moment you come out of it, that is over. You are talking of an experience. That experience might be different. So what Shrinu is saying that if we will eat simply in a dhaba, so we will feel different. And if we eat in Taj Hotel, we will feel different. So that is experience, right? And experience is inseparable for services, and we will talk of it, right? It is about this experience only. And experience is a very, very important, contributor to the understanding of services. So that experience will last till you consume the product or till you are available there, maybe in this hotel or in this dhaba or in this Taj. But when you are out, then it is gone, right? So durability is actually a little larger than that. So the time frame of it would be a little larger. Ankit, you are saying something. Okay, fine.
एक्सपीरियंस ऐसे तो ना शादी करते खत्म हो
Hmm. Okay, that is there in your brain for some time. Okay, so we take it. I buy your argument. हाँ, ठीक है. आप भी कुछ कह रहे थे?
सर ये था जैसे प्लेस वैल्यू को क्रिएट करता है तो जैसे
Place value.
हाँ place
Hmm.
value.
What do you mean by
Storage
that?
है।
What do you mean by that? Place
Like,
value.
किसी जगह से किसी चीज की वैल्यू क्रिएट करना
ठीक है।
ट्रांसपोर्टेशन से किसी चीज को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह ले जाकर उसकी वैल्यू क्रिएट करना तो इसमें वैल्यू रिसिपेंट के लिए तो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन से एक चीज दूसरी जगह गई तो उसके लिए ड्यूरेबल वैल्यू बनी और दूसरी चीज है कोल्ड स्टोरेज उसके अंदर सामान लंबे समय तक रखते हैं जब तक उसकी जरूरत नहीं उसके बाद जब रिसिपेंट मिलती है तो सेम कंडीशन में
Perhaps there is some disconnect between understanding the meaning of this question.
सर्विस है अबाउट कोल्ड स्टोरेज
I'm not denying cold storage is not a service. So that is not the thing. The point is, let me explain what is question, right? So at times question also needs explanations, and maybe this is one of those. Can services be used to create durable value? Can services, you know what is service? I hope so. Be used to create durable value? I have explained the question. Okay, let me again do that. Can you experience something by virtue of consuming these services which remains there for a longer duration, and hence you can use that thing also in times to come maybe. So that is durability. Huh?
Any
Are you changing your answer now? Okay.
शायद अब आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि लाइक हमने कोई सर्विस यूज
Sir, tourism.
और उसका हमारे ऊपर लॉन्ग
I will come to that.
लॉन्ग टाइम तक एक्सप्लोर आ रहा है तो लाइक कोई आदमी फर्स्ट टाइम प्लेन में वो करता है तो वो सर्विस है लेकिन उसका जो है एक्सपीरियंस उसे लास्ट टाइम तक याद है
Okay.
क्रिएटिविटी की सर्विस ऐसी है
Okay. ठीक है. Tourism you were saying, Devinder. कैसे?
Sir, पहली बार हम किसी प्लेस पे गए थे टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री के थ्रू सर्विस वो सर लास्ट लॉन्ग इंसिडेंट ऐसे होती है लास्ट लॉन्ग हमारे पास
Okay. So which means the memories you are talking about. Okay. Huh? That is also an experience. So that is why I am not very much convinced about it. Right? Okay. Now see what we are doing now is let me be very crystal clear to all of you. Himanshu ji. What we are discussing now is it is not available to the greater extent in the text we are discussing, which means you have your ideas and we have our ideas, so we are just discussing, right? So if we say that education can be considered as that, so which means maybe today you have learned something and after 5 years you can use this learning to solve your problems. I mean, this is how maybe we will try to relate it. So when you were kid, then you have learned maybe the table of 2 or 5, and even today you can use it to solve your problems, the mathematical problems. So can that be an example of the services which is taught to you be used at a very later point of time, and hence it is said that the services can be used to create value, or that value will be a durable value, which means that service which someday was provided to us can be used at some other point to solve our problems, right? So this is how it is argued that yes, it is also true in services, right? So how does it make sense to you? Is it senseful, or there is anything that you would like to add to it? Priti, ये जरा बंद करना. Is it senseful, or I mean we need to add something to it? Hmm. Hmm. So that is okay. So what we are saying is we are challenging the established understanding of the services, right? So I have said established understanding of the services. I have not said established facts about services, because they were never facts when you say that the services are only intangible, right? This was only our understanding of services. We are trying to challenge that, and hence we are just trying to look after those examples which actually might be striking in our mind and would try to question our existing understanding. This is what maybe we are trying to do, right? So what is it that we should actually be kind of converging, and we can argue, at least if not converge, that services understanding in our mind has been little diluted, and this has not been clear to the certain extent. And if I have to make sense of this thing to you, then I would rather say that whatever understanding of services we have in our brains as of now does not help us in distinguishing a product and services to a greater extent. In other words, you cannot use your current understanding of products and services to define what is a product and what is a service, right? Because by going the logic that everything which is intangible is service and everything which is tangible is a product, we cannot plainly use this distinction between product and services to call that this aviation is a service and this restaurant is also a service and this LG refrigerator is a product, right? So it actually fails us somewhere, and hence this understanding needs to be corrected. This is what I think we are on to, right? This is what we are trying to do. Now, one thing which is very important to understand, and that is something which will help us in distinguishing between product and services to some extent. Yes, all those other above statements are finding answer in yes, but ownership and non-ownership is unsolved till yet. Now, what do we mean by that is, you cannot. We cannot separate the services of two individuals. We can separate actually, and we would talk on that, right? See, the point is that, I mean, have you noticed that one major point of difference between product and services, which we have not perhaps understood and which we have perhaps not kept into our that column, which helps us in this, understanding the difference between these two, is the ownership framework. What is ownership framework? Ownership framework is that products have ownership, services do not have ownership. So which means you can own this mobile phone, this is yours. You cannot own services. So if I am speaking to you, you cannot own me, right? If you are into a barber shop and barber is giving you a haircut, you are not owning that service, you are not owner of that. If you are going by bus, you are not owner of that bus. If you are sitting in a restaurant, you are not owner of that restaurant. If you are sitting in a cricket stadium, you are not owner of that cricket stadium. So this ownership framework is something which has been missed, and missed largely, and as a result of it, we actually have not looked at a very important differentiator which will differentiate between a product and service. So the point that we are perhaps trying to understand is that when we say that yes, services can be stored, when we say yes, the services are durable, when we say that yes, the production and consumption of services can be segregated, but if we do not combine this argument with the ownership framework, we perhaps will still not be in a position to call spade a spade and something else as something else. So which means we cannot yet call that this is a product and this is a service. Now this was a breathtaking, kind of a thing which actually helps us in distinguishing between these two. So if you have to say that what is that one point which perhaps will help us to a greater extent, not to the 100% extent, to differentiate between product and services, then you can say that it can be the ownership framework, and this is kind of a very good understanding of calling a product and service. So a while ago when we were discussing that why restaurant is a service, right? Why restaurant is a service? Because everything you use there is not yours. Right? What if it is a plate? What if it is a spoon? What if it is the chair you are sitting on? What if it is the table on which you are keeping your plate? What if the waiter that is serving you? What if the chef who is preparing the recipe for you? What if the place where you are sitting, the ACs you are consuming? Nothing is yours, and hence it is a service, because the ownership framework says that you are not owner of it. Right? So this also we need to look at, and hence it will help us in understanding. Now another thing that we have to look at in understanding the difference between product and service is the benefits that they are giving, and people look at these benefits in terms of rent. And this book which you are looking at now treats majority of the services as rent. Right? So rent is what? Rent is you are taking someone's expertise in exchange of money. So this is how you talk of this rent type of a thing. So this rent is the most important form of service, right? And when you combine rent, and rent by nature says that it is not yours, right? So when we use term rent, we do not say it is my own. Hence ownership framework also comes into picture. So renting is an important word. Now let us try to understand this non-ownership framework so that we can actually make more sense of this product and service, and hence we can, by looking at anything, we can say that this is a product and this is a service. Now, this non-ownership framework says that the services which are provided can be categorized into 4 parts, or can have 4 categories. And the first category is rented goods and services. So now the moment we are keeping everything under the banner of non-ownership framework, that means that we are speaking of all those offerings which cannot be owned by the consumer, right? So consumer is someone who is consuming it, he is not owning it. So first category is rented goods services. So you take the boats for rent, you take the dress for rent, you take the car for rent, you take the bicycle for rent. So this is rented goods services. Second category in which it is defined is defined space and place rentals. So office building, aircraft, table, so this all comes under this thing. Labor and expertise, so customer hire people to perform work which they do not choose to do themselves, and this is your labor and expertise rentals. And then access to shared physical environments like trade shows and gyms. So these all 4 categories would actually take all the services perhaps you use, and all the type of services which can fall potentially under non-ownership framework be categorized into any of these 4. So either it will be a rented good service, or will it be a defined space or place rentals, or it will be labor and expertise rentals, or it will be access to physical shared environments. So this is how the non-ownership framework try to understand and segregate the within services products also, or within services also. So it is not only one type of service that we are talking here, but it is 4 types of services which can potentially come under non-ownership framework. So this is what it says. Okay, now keeping that in mind, let us go ahead and let us try to make sense of how then we use this understanding in defining a product and service. So with this understanding we will define the services. If you would look at the way we would understand the services before, I think the ownership framework, the questions that we have asked would help us in deconfusing to some extent what potentially should be treated as service and what potentially should be treated as a product. So earlier we would call services as acts, deeds, performances or efforts, or if you will talk of characteristics, then you will say it is intangible, you will say it is produced and consumed simultaneously, you will say it is perishable and all that. Now this is how today people try to understand service, right? This is a definition of service for that matter, and the services are defined as economic activities. Now these words actually speaks of very important characteristics of services. We are treating services as economic activities, right? So economic activities means what? Exchange takes place for these services, which is offered by one party to another, right? So one would be a service provider, one would be a service consumer. Very important, it is time based, right? So it is not that for eternity you will say that I will be doing this in whenever I will be able to do that. It doesn't happen like that. It has to be time based, right? And it should be able to produce desired results for recipients, and the purchasers are responsibly engaging in this economic exchange. So what is it, and what this definition encompasses is, if you would look at this definition, you should be surprised to some extent, because it never and nowhere is speaking about tangibility, intangibility, perishability, production, consumption at the same time. It is not talking of any of these things. In fact, it is using the words like objects, which are very much physical in nature, right? So this definition is not distinguishing the product and services on the basis of physicalness of the product or non-physicalness of the product, or tangibility of the product or intangibility of the product. It is just saying that the services can be those economic activities which can be offered by one party to another, and these are time based, and these can be performances which can result into desired phenomenon, and then you may call them as service. But this definition was also not complete, right? Because this is using this, you cannot say that this is a product and this is a service. So we are still standing somewhere. Yes, it is an improvement over the earlier understanding of product and services, but let us try to further refine it. If you would talk of the summary of this definition, you will say that it is primarily talking about the value creation, which is the entire marketing only, right? So it is speaking about that value which is being created by anyone. So when I am speaking to you, I am maybe creating some value to you. When a barber is cutting down your hair, he is also creating some value to you, and this value creation is at the core to it. Now let us try to understand this value creation then, and maybe then we will be able to refine this definition to some extent more. Intangible items dominates the value creation. Now this is something which is very important to understand, because this will let us to have very conclusively say that this is a product, this is a service. Now when that definition is speaking about value creation, now the point is that the value which is being created by the marketer, this value thing is what? Look at this value and look at the result, which is this value itself. What part and how much part of this value creation is tangible and how much part is intangible. So what this says, that if the intangible value dominates the tangible value, then you can call that offering a service. I mean, this is how you try to understand it. Let me rerun through my words. Suppose you are going in airplane, right? So you are traveling. So aeroplane has tangibility also associated with it, right? It has the services also associated with it. So you have those air hostesses, you have those pilots who are delivering their services, you have those book counters, you have those waiting areas. All those are services, because none of them are your own. So non-ownership framework says that this all will come under rental, and hence these are the services. So now in these services, what is more? You are driving a value. So value is what? You are driving the value. You are feeling comfortable inside a craft. And why you are feeling comfortable? Because ACs are running, and ACs are physical. Why you are feeling comfortable? Because the chair is so comfortable and the chair is tangible. So the value that is being created, you have to understand the marketing from this perspective, and this is the essence of understanding the services, that this value that is being generated, that cannot be 100% tangible, and that will never be 100% intangible. So there will be some component in this value which can be tangible, there is some which can be intangible, right? And hence you have to look at the total value which is being generated and how much of it is tangible and can be attributed to the tangible substances and how much of it can be attributed to intangible substances. So this is what we have to look at. And this distinction will help us in understanding the differences between the goods and services. And if we can understand that, then maybe we are in a position wherein we can say that this is your service and this is your product, right? So this differentiation is coming up. What we now need to do is we just have to look at the value that is being created, and that value, if it is intangible, majority part of it is intangible, then you call it as service, right? Now Leon Shostak, who is a thinker and who has worked a lot into services, he has talked of a continuum, right? And what is a continuum? What is a continuum? This is a kind of a scale, this is kind of a range which starts from a point and it goes on to the other direction, right? So this is a continuum, right? Now the point is that at one side of this continuum can be tangibility, at one side of this continuum can be intangibility. So the value that you are deriving out of anything that is provided by the marketer. So now we are talking of offering as a word. This offering that you are using, the consuming, this value that you are using and experiencing, you look at where in this continuum this value can be placed. How much of it is tangible, how much it is intangible. So that actually will help us in understanding whether we should call it as a restaurant or we should call it as a restaurant is a service itself, or the distinction between the product and services can be potentially achieved. Now look at the example of this continuum. Onto vertical side of it you are looking at the physical elements, and onto horizontal side of it you are looking at intangible elements. Now you just have to place the various offerings. Now I am using the word offering because at this point I do not know whether it is a product or a service. The thing is that if it is getting more into the physical things, then you call it as a product. If it is getting more into the intangible part of it, the intangible side of the continuum, then you will call it as a service. Now you can challenge this, no point, because this is Leon who is talking of that this is how I place the various offerings at this continuum. Now he is saying wine, suppose, or the CD player. He says that it is there is a lot of tangibility associated with it. But what does CD player do? What does CD player do? It plays the music for you, right? And music is a kind of a service, right? This is the service that it is providing you. So, but majority of it is your physical thing. So here he is trying to place it, and he says that the value that we are driving of it, majority of it is because majority of it is your physical thing and the physical value. So that is why we should call it as a product, right? And if you can say that yes, majority of it is intangible and it will come to the right hand side of the continuum, then you will say it is service. So this is the nearest explanation to a product and a service and the difference between these two. And this continuum is trying to do away with the confusion between product and services. Now argument still remains there. Now for example, do you have problem with any of the placement, the offering which is placed here? Because I had experiences wherein people say that no, this is somewhere wrong.
So landscape maintenance का
हाँ जी,
सही है landscape maintenance
landscape maintenance is suppose CPWD is doing your work. Is it a service or it is a product? It is maintaining your landscape. जैसे किर्लोस्कर क्या करता है? पानी के पंप is only one of the task. वो अपने आप को क्या बोलते हैं? Enriching lives. वो क्या करेंगे? बीहड़ है, आप उनको दे दो कि ये डेवलप करना है, वो पूरा आपको पूरा प्रॉपरली ना वहाँ पे आपको चीज़ें प्रोवाइड करा देंगे. सो CPWD वालों ने आपका मेंटेनेंस का काम यहाँ पर लिया है, तो वो लैंडस्केप मेंटेनेंस करते हैं, राइट? इसमें कहीं चैलेंज है? एनीथिंग दैट कैन बी आर्ग्यूड, हाँ? Wine is a product or service. So they say that the most part of the wine goes into the physical side of it, and hence it is a service. And look at this internet banking. Are you okay with it?
किसी इंसान के लिए सिर्फ वाइन वाइन की वैल्यू ज़्यादा होती है एविडेंस
किसी इंसान के हिसाब से
किसी इंसान के लिए सिर्फ उसकी वैल्यू ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट रखती है
ओके, सो किसी इंसान के हिसाब से वाइन की वैल्यू, एक्चुअली वाइन इटसेल्फ इज अ वैल्यू। देखिए इस तरह से हमें इसको देखना पड़ेगा कि जो भी आप चीज़ें दे रहे हैं वो इटसेल्फ में मार्केटर ये कहते हैं कि वो वैल्यू ही है। जब हम पिछली डेफिनेशन में नीचे कह रहे हैं कि वैल्यू क्रिएशन, marketing is nothing but it is offering you value, right? And that value is not only fulfilling your need but it is also giving a solution to your need, right? Now the point is you have to look at this value. अब वो wine itself is also a value, जो उससे एक्सपीरियंस आपका आया, आप उसकी बात कर रहे हैं, वो वैल्यू आप कह रहे हैं वो ज़्यादा है। पीने के बाद नहीं, अब बोतल नहीं, वो पिया क्या आपने,
वाइन
क्या वो वाइन जो पी है वो टेंजिबल थी कि इनटेंजिबल थी? आपने तो उसके स्टोरेज डिवाइस की बात करती। वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग ऑफ दैट इज यूज टू स्टोर दैट। वाइन इटसेल्फ इज अ फिजिकल प्रोडक्ट। सो देखो प्रॉब्लम कहाँ है, प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जहाँ पर कंफ्यूजन है। अब कोई चीज़ बिल्कुल ही टच की जा सकती है, फील की जा सकती है, वो तो हमें लगता है कि हाँ टेंजिबिलिटी इसमें ज़्यादा है, लेकिन कई बार ऐसा होता है कि उसमें उतनी ही तो टेंजिबिलिटी इन्वॉल्व है, उसमें उतनी ही इंटेंजिबिलिटी इन्वॉल्व है। फॉर एग्जांपल लियान साहब क्या कहते हैं कि रेस्टोरेंट इज सिटिंग राइट इन द मिडल ऑफ दिस कंटिन्यूम। सो लियान इज आर्ग्यूइंग दैट फॉर अ रेस्टोरेंट देर इज इक्वल अमाउंट ऑफ मे बी इंटेंजिबिलिटी इन्वॉल्व, देर इज इक्वल अमाउंट ऑफ टेंजिबिलिटी इन्वॉल्व। टेंजिबिलिटी कैसे है? एसी है, टेबल है, चेयर है, खाना है। पनीर टेंजिबल है भाई, पनीर टेंजिबल है। हाँ क्या? सी द पॉइंट, लेकिन वो इंटेंजिबिलिटी क्या कहता है? हाँ जी हिमांशु जी, इंटेंजिबिलिटी किसे कह रहे हैं? इंटेंजिबिलिटी कह रहे हैं कि पनीर बनाया किसी ने। ऐसा भी हो सकता है ना कि आप देवेंद्र के ढाबे पे जाओ, अरे क्या खिला दिया, पनीर नहीं बनाना आता। सुमित के पे जाओ, यहाँ तो पनीर ना बेस्ट है। ये डिफरेंस कहाँ से आया? पनीर तो एक ही चीज़ थी, ठीक है। विच मीन्स एयरलाइन में आप ट्रैवल करें, वही बोइंग 737 वही कंपनी इंडिगो को भी बेच रही है, वही कंपनी आपकी स्पाइस जेट को भी बेच रही है। प्लेन तो एक ही है, सीट भी एक है, सब कुछ एक है, आपका एक्सपीरियंस अलग हो सकता है। वो एक्सपीरियंस अलग क्यों होगा? इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? सी दिस इज व्हाट देवेंद्र वैल्यू इज। वैल्यू क्या है? वैल्यू आपका एक ओवरऑल डिलीवरी है एक ऑफरिंग की। एक एयरलाइन में एक प्लेन का होना is not, I mean you have to understand why it is a service thing, because your ability as a service provider can influence someone's experience of usage of this service. मैं फ्लाइस जेट का अगर क्रू मेंबर हूँ तो मैं आपके एक्सपीरियंस को वाहियात भी बना सकता हूँ और अच्छा भी बना सकता हूँ। सो दैट फिजिकल थिंग इज नॉर्मल, इट इज़ न्यूट्रल, इट इज़ कंट्रोल्ड। अब मेरे पास ये लैपटॉप है, मेरे पास ये फ़ोन है, अब इसका कंजम्पशन यानी कि मैं इससे आज क्या वैल्यू ड्रॉ कर रहा हूँ, व्हेन आई एम टॉकिंग विद इट व्हाट वैल्यू आई एम ड्रॉइंग टू इट, इट इज़ फिजिकल। इसमें क्या रोल है जिसने इसको बनाया था उसका, अभी वो तो मेरे पास आ गया। ओनरशिप फ्रेमवर्क में ही पहली बात तो ओनरशिप फ्रेमवर्क कह देता है ये प्रोडक्ट है, बात खत्म हो गई है, बिकॉज आई कैन ओन इट। ठीक है ना जी। पहले तो ये देखिए आप ओनरशिप फ्रेमवर्क में कहाँ फॉल कर रहे हैं, इट इज़ कमिंग इन ओनरशिप फ्रेमवर्क और नॉन ओनरशिप फ्रेमवर्क। If you say it is under ownership framework, so you say it is a product. If it is in non-ownership framework, you say yes, it can be a service. But let us look at the value which is derived out of it. So if the overall value, the component in this over value is more of the tangible things, then you call it a service. And if it is more of intangible nature, then you call it as a product. एक क्रिकेट के मैच के अंदर उदाहरण के लिए आपको कहाँ ज़्यादा मज़ा आएगा? Let me give you two perspectives. First is हाँ हो सकता है, लेट मी करेक्ट इट। टेंजिबल इज प्रोडक्ट, जहाँ टेंजिबल ज्यादा होगा वो प्रोडक्ट होगा, जहाँ इंटेंजिबल ज्यादा होगा वो सर्विस होगा, राइट। अब लेट मी गिव यू वन इंस्टेंस। लेट अस टेक इट एज अ सिचुएशन कि आप यू आर वॉचिंग अ क्रिकेट मैच एंड यू आर सिटिंग इन अ दिस स्टेडियम, एंड दिस स्टेडियम हैज कैपेसिटी ऑफ 50,000 पीपल एंड देयर आर ओनली 50 पीपल सिटिंग देयर। ठीक है जी। हाउ मच विल यू एंजॉय दिस मैच in comparison to a situation wherein the stadium is absolutely full 55,000 people are sitting in a capacity of 50,000. Here also the game is being played. Where will your experience be better?
Same crowd.
Why? Why? It will be better in crowd. And hence I am explaining value to you. The answer of this question will
स्टेडियम की वैल्यू हुआ है सर
क्या? हाँ?
एंटरटेनमेंट
उस स्टेडियम की विच मीन्स व्हाट आई मीन वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जो आपका स्टेडियम का इंजॉयमेंट है आप किसके लिए जाते हैं इंजॉयमेंट के लिए जाते हैं अब दिस इंजॉयमेंट इज द वैल्यू दैट यू आर सीकिंग राइट अब ये इंजॉयमेंट आपका ज्यादा कहाँ से आ रहा है उन कुर्सियों से आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा अदरवाइज तो जहाँ 50 बैठे थे तब भी उतना एंजॉय करना चाहिए था ये इंजॉयमेंट कहाँ से आ रहा है क्या प्लेयर से आ रहा है खाली सचिन तेंदुलकर तो वहां भी खेल रहा था वो कहाँ से आ रहा है राइट अब ये क्राउड का होना ना होना ये एनवायरनमेंट के अंदर एनवायरनमेंट टेंजिबल है कि इनटेंजिबल है तो इसलिए हम क्रिकेट को क्या कहेंगे वो आपका प्रोडक्ट नहीं है वो क्रिकेट के गेम में जाना एक्सपीरियंस करना वापस आना वो सर्विस के अंदर आएगा सो क्रिकेटर्स आर प्रोवाइडिंग यू अ सर्विस विच इज एन एंटरटेनमेंट सो इट डज नॉट फॉल अंडर फॉर दैट प्रोडक्ट हाँ वो यूज कर रहे हैं बैट को वो टेंजिबल है मारोगे तो लगेगा दर्द करेगा टेंजिबल है तो ये आपका जो है ना ल्यान कहते हैं कि आपको वैल्यू देखना है और वो वैल्यू जो ड्रॉ हो रही है उसका मेजोरिटी पार्ट क्या है अब जैसे मैं यहाँ पर बात करता इंटरनेट बैंकिंग अब ल्यान ने इंटरनेट बैंकिंग को जो है ना बिल्कुल हाईली इंटेंजिबल एंड पे रखा है इज इट ओके is it okay to put this thing at the extreme intangible side of the continuum which means he is saying it is a service and you know in continuation to this talk we will talk of absolute product and absolute service so this is a concept wherein you say there is no intangibility if it is an absolute product usme sab tangible hai and if you are talking of absolute service there is no tangibility in it and hence it is an absolute service so क्या इंटरनेट बैंकिंग को एक कॉन्टिन्यूम के एक्सट्रीम एंड पर रखना इज इट ओके क्यों भाई हम वी आर नॉट चैलेंजिंग ल्यान आई मीन वी आर नॉट डूइंग दैट बट वी कैन हैव ओपिनियंस राइट सो दिस इज द पॉइंट आई मीन डू यू फील दैट ओके लेट अस लुक एट आई मीन ये भी आपके सेशनल में आएगा भाई ठीक है ना एक सवाल है सेशनल का आपका ये इसके अंदर जो आपका रखा हुआ है आप इसको चैलेंज करके बताइए आई मीन नॉट चैलेंज बट क्रिटिकली इवैल्यूएट दिस पोजिशनिंग ऑफ द वेरियस इंडस्ट्रीज अक्रॉस दिस कॉन्टिन्यूम because this the placement of the various industries across this continuum will make you eligible to say whether it is a product or service so salt is a service detergent is a service CD player is a service हिमांशु क्लास से एक आदमी से नहीं वाइन इज अ सर्विस गोल्फ इज अ सर्विस न्यू कार इज अ सर्विस अब यहाँ से गड़बड़ होनी शुरू हो गई बिकॉज दिस इज समवेयर इन द मिडिल राइट तो जैसे जैसे नीचे आएंगे दैट इज अ गायब सो ये क्या है आपका ये कॉन्टिन्यूम है और इस कॉन्टिन्यूम को चैलेंज करना जो है ना वो दैट इज समथिंग विच एक्चुअली विल हेल्प अस इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग सो with the current literature in hand let us say that we perhaps are in little better situation when it comes on to calling service as a service or product as a product right and how because we now know to some extent that what is the basis of calling a product as product and service as a service so what are the steps that we can use or we can potentially use to call a product or a service number one we will look at whether it is fitting into ownership framework or non-ownership framework number one number two is then if it is in non-ownership framework then you place it into the continuum and placing it on the continuum would let us know that it is a product or it is a service so this is how you kind of differentiate and you don't just look at the tangibility you just don't look at the intangibility part of it and on the basis of it then you do not make the assumption or the conclusion right okay anything till this point yes Neeraj
Salt is very small compared to car. This scale is mentioned by the I will
Huh? tangibility you look at it from the perspective of tangibility, right? तो वो साइज़ की बात नहीं हो रही है, we will not talk of size, नहीं तो उसके हिसाब से सबसे बड़ा प्रोडक्ट तो हवाई जहाज़ होना चाहिए था, क्योंकि वो सबसे बड़ा है अगर साइज़ की बात करें, और हो सकता है सुई सर्विस बन जाती है उस हिसाब से, तो क्योंकि वो सबसे छोटी बनती है, बट सुई इज स्टिल अ प्रोडक्ट।
सर रीजन क्या है, न्यू कार मतलब कार मेंटेनेंस चाहिए होती है।
हाँ, इसके बारे में हम आगे बात करेंगे। नाउ नीरज इज एक्चुअली हाईलाइटिंग अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट, एंड दैट पॉइंट इज कि कार के अंदर जब यहाँ कार रखा हुआ है तो इसका मतलब इसके जो नीचे वाला हिस्सा है ना, वो आपका इंटेंजिबल भी है कुछ कार से एसोसिएटेड। अभी अभी आपने सिलेबस में भी देखा होगा, इफ़ यू कैन रिकॉल, वी वर टॉकिंग ऑफ सप्लीमेंट्री सर्विसेज, एक यूनिट 2 के अंदर आपका है। सप्लीमेंट्री सर्विसेज क्या है? देर आर टू थिंग्स which are associated with the value creation. Number one is core value that you draw. Number one is supplementary. So which means you have purchased a car, that is your core product. Supplementary services would be when you go for the servicing of this car, or when you go for say to a mechanic, that is actually a service. So mechanic is not a product, he is giving you service, availability of the service, availability of spare parts. So all these things actually comes under supplementary services, right? So वो उस perspective से काफ़ी intangibility भी उसके सामने, ये हम इसकी बात करेंगे।